Subscribe now. EU debates.
The United Nations Agency for Refugees believes that over 5 million Ukrainian civilians have already left their country due to military aggression from Russia. During the last informal meeting in Versailles, the heads of state and government in Europe have firmly condemned the unjustified military intervention and unprovoked aggression from Russia against Ukraine, and they reaffirmed that the European Union and its member states will continue to provide political, financial, material and humanitarian aid in a coordinated manner. The member states have made significant coordinated efforts to take in millions of refugees. Beyond the humanitarian crisis, it has also inevitably led to the slowdown of the post-COVID recovery period. Coordinated European actions have allowed us to offset the worst of the social and economic consequences, but there are still major challenges ahead of us. This wave of refugees will undoubtedly have budgetary consequences which are difficult to estimate for the European Union and its member states, particularly the member states that border Ukraine. However, it represents an opportunity for the European Union if the refugees want to integrate in a long-term manner into the labour market into their host countries. In April, we adopted a budget which would allow us to mobilise different European funds in order to finance the welcome of Ukrainian refugees. For example, investing in education, employment, housing, healthcare, childcare services, and also in basic material assistance. Furthermore, on the 4th of March, the Council unanimously adopted an implementing decision which would allow us to set up temporary protection for people fleeing war in Ukraine and will ensure harmonised rights throughout the European Union, while ensuring that there is a fair share of the effort being made between member states. It's the right to live and work in the European Union, but also to have access to social care. Some member states are also providing financial support to refugees when they arrive. In order to provide support for school-aged children, they will have access to national education systems. Adults can have access to training courses and integration into the labour market through the active implementation of public services for employment and involving social partners. In economic terms, the Russian aggression against Ukraine, the sanctions and countermeasures, their impact on the value and transport chains, and the cuts to international transport, these are all also going to have an impact on the European economy that's already been weakened by the COVID-19 crisis, and this will be a long-term impact. Raw materials such as wheat, cereals and energy will be affected. Increasing inflation in the EU is going to impact our businesses, as well as energy supply and security, and we will have to fight against certain shortages as a priority. The member states in Versailles agreed to reduce member states' dependence on gas and oil and coal from Russia, as well as on their dependence on fossil fuels. In order to be freer from Gazprom and in order to ensure supply chains, Europe has to diversify its supply to accelerate the production of green energy, to ensure that they have joint purchasing for energies and reduce demand. At the same time, we have to maintain our competitiveness on the global level in the long term, even though we are seeing higher energy costs. Reducing our dependency will require a certain number of actions, such as the digital and green transitions. Under the French presidency, the Council is doing everything it can to ensure the supply of gas in the coming winter. Therefore, it's necessary to ensure strong European solidarity and to ensure that we respect the sanctions that we have set. I also welcome the fact that the Commission will be presenting the Repower EU programme on the 18th of May in order to take European joint actions in favour of more affordable, safer and more sustainable energy. We are at a historic turning point in terms of our energy independence and our transition. The green transition will provide new opportunities for jobs, and in the long term it will free us from our energy independency that is holding us back. Clearly, these social short-term effects, particularly for the most vulnerable, have to be re-examined in light of the current situation and how it evolves. Currently, this transition is our only viable solution. Therefore, we have to accelerate our efforts on energy efficiency, on renewables, and on hydrogen. Energy poverty today affects about 34 million people in the European Union. That's about 1 in 5 people whose income is below the poverty threshold. They declare that they cannot afford to properly heat their home. As we announced in the Fit for 55 package, in order to ensure a fair transition towards climate neutrality, the Commission has said that it will examine the green transition's impact on the social sector and on employment. The Commission has also undertaken discussions in view of the final adoption of recommendations which will ensure a fair transition towards climate neutrality and which will also fight energy poverty and will ensure targeted actions for individuals to ensure that they have essential energy services. We will have further monitoring of the implementation of the fair transition, and particularly looking at its impact on the most marginalised groups and those most at risk of energy poverty. Some member states have also already ensured access to energy for the most vulnerable groups as a priority, in line with Target 20 of the European social goals. We have to act in a decisive manner in order to fight against the worst effects of the conflict on our societies and our economies, and ensuring that we show solidarity and unity between member states in our actions. Our priority has to be protecting and consolidating our economic and social model, at the same time ensuring that nobody is left behind. Thank you all very much.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Klinker. And now I invite the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, to take the floor.